My best friend gave birth to my boyfriend's baby, and my whole family knew and kept quiet. 15 years ago, my best friend, who was 18 at the time, got pregnant by my boyfriend, who was 20. I'd been dating him for 3 years by then. My family knew about it, but didn't tell me, so I left home. Now, after all these years, we're talking again, and my mom, who's 59, is pushing me to reconnect with my ex-boyfriend and former friend. I'm 33 now. This whole mess started 15 years ago, and it's had a huge impact on my life. Back when I was 18 and a senior in high school, I really thought my life was on track. I lived with my parents and four siblings, ages 23, 22, 20, and 14, and spent most of my time with my best friend Ashley, who was also 18, or my boyfriend Kyle, who was 20. We'd been together for 3 years. Ashley's and Kyle's parents were close friends with mine, so we'd known each other since we were babies. We celebrated holidays, birthdays, and often hung out at each other's houses, since we lived in the same town. Ashley had been my friend for 18 years, and I trusted her completely. Sometimes our parents joked that we were joined at the hip, because we were inseparable. With Kyle, I'd been in a relationship for 3 years, and I believed he was the love of my life. I thought we'd get married someday. We were serious, even talking about a wedding after he finished college. He was a sophomore then, while I had plans to go to university. I was okay with the idea of marrying Kyle and becoming a homemaker. My parents adored him and supported our relationship. I was genuinely happy. Oh, and my 20-year-old sister was dating Kyle's 23-year-old brother, so all our siblings were super close. Then I noticed Ashley was acting down and distant. After a lot of prodding, she admitted she was pregnant. I was shocked because I knew she'd broken up with her boyfriend a while back and had no clue she was seeing anyone else. I asked who the father was, but she wouldn't say, only hinting it was her ex. She was desperate, so I didn't push her and just tried to comfort her. I was there when she told her family. Her parents were disappointed, but promised to support whatever she decided. They tried to find out who the father was, but she refused to name him and made me swear to keep quiet. Her parents didn't even know she'd had a boyfriend before. For the next 9 months, I was by her side. I went with her to ultrasounds and doctor's appointments, helped set up the nursery, supported her when she was struggling, threw her a baby shower, shopped with her, and even took a parenting class together. We picked out names, and she asked me to be there for the birth. I could tell the pregnancy was tough on her, both physically and emotionally, and I did everything I could to help. She was my best friend, always there for me, and I loved her. A couple of weeks before her due date, I was at the mall running errands when I ran into Ashley's ex. Even though I'd promised not to contact him, seeing him made me furious because of how my friend was suffering. I lost it and tore into him, calling him a total jerk for abandoning a pregnant woman and not caring about his unborn child. He looked stunned and said he had no idea what I was talking about. Apparently, Ashley had never told him about her pregnancy. When I mentioned she was already 9 months along, he insisted he couldn't be the father because they'd broken up over a year ago and hadn't been in touch since. I was confused but apologized for yelling at him in the middle of the mall. After that, he got snarky, said some nasty things, and then suggested I ask Ashley's friend Kyle if he was the father. I brushed it off. Kyle and Ashley had been friends their whole lives. We all were because of our parents' friendship. There was never any hint of anything more between them. That evening, my younger sister, who was 14, and I were getting ready for a movie night at home. I started ranting about my run-in with Ashley's ex and what he'd said. My sister, who's usually super blunt, went quiet and didn't react. After a bit, she said she needed to use the bathroom and left. I went to grab a snack from the kitchen, and that's when I overheard her chewing out our mom. That moment's blurry in my memory because I was so overwhelmed. My sister told Mom about my encounter with Ashley's ex, repeated what he'd said, and declared she was done keeping the truth from me. Kyle was the father of Ashley's baby. I was floored, completely floored. I froze, then stumbled into the kitchen, demanding answers. Mom and my sister went pale when they saw me. My sister burst into tears. She started explaining, and later I pieced together more from others. At the end of summer break, Kyle and Ashley had been at a party, got drunk and hooked up. Ashley got pregnant and told Kyle, but they were both too ashamed and scared to confess to me. They didn't tell their parents either, but Ashley couldn't keep it in and eventually told her parents, who told Kyle's parents, who then told mine. This was when Ashley was in her first trimester. By the second trimester, all our siblings, mine, Kyle's and Ashley's, knew. Everyone except me. I can't even describe what I felt. I was physically sick for the next 3 days and couldn't talk to anyone. My parents kept apologizing, saying they didn't want to hurt me or ruin the bond between our families. I ignored Kyle and Ashley, even though they bombarded my phone with texts and calls and showed up at my house. I refused to see them. At one point, Kyle's mom came over, and my mom let her into my room. I was lying in bed, still feeling awful, emotionally drained from the betrayal. She tried to convince me to forgive them, saying Ashley and the baby needed me. I stayed silent. 2 weeks later, Ashley went into labor. I heard from my parents that it was a tough delivery. She lost a lot of blood, and they had to do an emergency C-section. Kyle, it turns out, was there for the birth. I was devastated, crushed by their betrayal, and by the fact that I'd planned to be there but now couldn't physically or emotionally, despite waiting 9 months for that moment. My older sister went to the hospital to see her boyfriend, and my other siblings weren't home, so I was alone with my parents. All I wanted was to curl up in bed, hug my mom, and cry everything out. Then Ashley's mom called. Mom came into my room and said she and Dad were heading to the hospital. I was confused and begged her to stay with me. She said Ashley's parents needed all the support they could get, and that we'd talk later. I tried to tell her I needed their support too, but she called me selfish and left with Dad. I was alone in the house, unable to process what had happened over the past few weeks. I couldn't believe my parents went to support the people who'd betrayed me while I was suffering by myself. Was I really selfish for thinking that? I don't know. At some point, my sadness turned into rage, anger like I'd never felt before. In a surge of emotion and betrayal, I started packing my things. I decided to leave home. It took me a moment to process, and I hesitated, just sitting in the living room, feeling empty. Then I got a text from my sister. It said Ashley had given birth to a healthy girl, and that they were both okay. She attached a photo of the newborn and wrote that they'd named her Sarah. It was the name Ashley and I had picked out months earlier. A little later, I got another message. My parents, along with Ashley's and Kyle's, were heading to a bar to celebrate the baby's birth. I don't remember much after that. I think I was just completely overwhelmed, and my memory of that time is hazy. I left, I hopped on a train and got out of there. For a while, I stayed in a hostel in Phoenix, got a job at a store, and planned to finish school there. My parents' siblings, Kyle and Ashley, kept trying to reach me. Mom left frantic voicemails begging me to come back. They even filed a missing persons report, but since I was 18, it didn't seem to go anywhere. Not long after, I met Dean, who was 21. He was living in Phoenix too, and had a rocky relationship with his family. We clicked right away and became friends. He helped me so much during that time. I was struggling, with no clue how to take care of myself or what it meant to be an adult. Dean introduced me to his group of friends, helped me finish school, and soon I moved in with him and his buddies. He supported me as I dealt with my pain. I really struggled, sometimes regretting my decision to leave. I wanted to see a therapist, but couldn't afford it. Dean was there for me through everything, and I don't think I would have made it without him. After a year, we started dating. He inherited some money from his grandfather and decided to move to a big city across the country. Even though we hadn't been together long, he asked me to come with him. I hesitated. Both of us were carrying a lot of emotional baggage, and I still felt unsteady. But I said yes. We moved, found jobs, and tried to make it work. Shortly after my 21st birthday, we decided to get married. It was a spontaneous, wild choice, but we went for it. I enrolled in college, and Dean helped pay for it. He started his own company, which began to do well, and we started living more comfortably. I studied, worked part-time to contribute, and we had our ups and downs, but we made it through. After graduating, I joined his company, and together we built it up. Looking back, I realize I wasn't in love with Dean when I married him. I loved him, but it wasn't romantic love. He was always there, unwavering and unconditional, and now I don't think I could love him more. He's the love of my life. We've been married for 12 years and have a 2-year-old son and a 6-month-old baby. Sometimes I regretted cutting off my family, but going back felt too painful. I felt like my parents chose Ashley and Kyle over me. When I was 25, I started therapy to sort through my emotions. Last year, I got a letter from a 14-year-old girl named Evelyn. She explained she was my niece, the daughter of my older sister and Kyle's brother. She knew about me and wanted to connect. Though I wasn't sure about responding, we started writing to each other. She didn't know what happened 15 years ago, so our chats were pretty light. We talked about her school, her hobbies, and she filled me in on my family. I learned I have 10 nieces and nephews. I also found out Kyle married Ashley 4 years after I left. And besides Sarah, they had 2 sons. My parents stayed close with Kyle's and Ashley's families, and to me it felt like my family just carried on with their normal lives without me. Ellen tried to bring up the past, but I didn't think it was my place to explain. I just told her that life changes, and sometimes things happen that cause people to drift apart. We kept in touch off and on for almost a year. In a letter this January, Evelyn shared how the pandemic hit their family hard. My parents struggled to keep their house, and both my brothers lost their jobs, unable to pay bills. I was surprised she knew so much at just 14, but the financial strain was also stressing her own family. I started feeling guilty and regretful. Plus, I'd recently given birth, which made me even more emotional. I talked it over with my husband, and he was incredibly supportive, saying he'd back whatever I decided. We're financially stable. The pandemic didn't hit us too hard. We're not rich, but we're comfortable. After learning more details and discussing it with Dean, we decided to help my parents with their house. A week ago, Dean and I flew to my home state. I saw my family for the first time in 15 years. It was a whirlwind of emotions: regret, pain from the past, and feelings of betrayal. My parents, I think, felt relieved to see me. It was a strange day. We talked for a long time and agreed to try building some kind of normal relationship. So much time has passed, and I feel awkward around them. Sometimes they seem like strangers. Dean and I stayed for a week, and I really believed we were moving towards something like friendship. But then my mom started pushing me to sit down and talk with Kyle and Ashley. She explained she wanted things to go back to how they were. I told her I didn't want to talk to them. I've let go of the past, but I have no connection with them anymore, and I don't want to reopen that chapter. I said I was willing to work on things with my parents, since they're my family, and I've started to care about my niece, but I want nothing to do with Kyle Ashley, or their family. I never asked my parents to cut them off, but I don't want that contact myself. Dean backed me up. Mom called me selfish, and said I was obligated to try fixing things with them. I told her I wasn't negotiating, and it was her choice whether she wanted a relationship with me. She said fine, but 2 days later, Kyle's mom called me. I hadn't given her my number. She insisted, practically demanded, that I talk to Kyle and Ashley because my return was causing tension in their family. I hung up. I called my mom and confronted her. Turns out she'd given my number to Kyle's mom to rebuild family ties. I told her she was choosing them over me again. She cried, yelled, called me selfish, and said she just wanted her family back. I hung up again. It's been a few days since I've talked to any of them, but my mom and Kyle's mom keep calling. I believe I'm in the right and that I should prioritize my well-being and the happiness of my husband, who supports me 100%. He even put my mom in her place and our sons. But I'm starting to have doubts. I'm wondering if I should listen to my mom and talk to Ashley and Kyle. I'm questioning whether I overreacted 15 years ago. Maybe I am being selfish by not trying to mend things. I'd love to hear some advice or perspective on what to do here. Suddenly I'm doubting my entire life path. I feel completely lost and don't know what to do. So let's pause this video right now and share some advice for the author. What should they do in this situation? And now let's move on to the update.
Advice for the situation.
You're not selfish for setting boundaries. 15 years ago, you were betrayed by people you trusted, and your family's choice to keep it from you and prioritize others' feelings over yours was deeply hurtful. You've built a stable, loving life with Dean and your kids, and protecting that peace is valid. Reconnecting with Kyle and Ashley doesn't have to be part of healing with your parents. Those are separate relationships. Your mom's insistence in sharing your number without consent shows she's still prioritizing her vision of family over your needs, which echoes the past. My advice: keep the door open with your parents and niece if it feels right, but hold firm on not engaging with Kyle and Ashley. You don't owe them closure. Therapy might help you navigate these doubts and reinforce your confidence in your choices. You're not lost. You've built something strong. Trust that. Update Tin 1. 2 years later. Wow, it's been 2 years since I posted that story. So many of you have asked for an update. First, I want to thank all the amazing people who wrote to me, sent kind messages, and supported me. I'm truly grateful. A lot has happened over these years, and unfortunately, not all of it's been good. To keep this from turning into a novel, I'll get to the point. I never mentioned my younger sister in my original post. Her relationship with our parents got really bad after I left, and by the time she was 20, she cut them off completely. I got her number from our older sister, and though it was awkward at first, 15 years is a long time. We started talking again. She was angry at me for leaving. A lot had happened in her life, and it wasn't easy for her. She has 2 young kids, and honestly, her children helped us reconnect. Now she's my best friend, and we talk every day. As for my other siblings, I stay in regular touch with both my brothers, though we're not super close. With my older sister, we're on good terms now, but last year we went through a rough patch where we didn't speak for a while. Since she's married to Kyle's brother, it's been tough for her to navigate all this family drama. Things are okay now, and I've built great relationships with my nieces and nephews. I skipped one of my niece's birthday parties because it felt like too much for me to handle. Now about my parents, this is the most painful part. At times I felt like I was reliving all the awful emotions I had at 18. My mom wouldn't stop hounding me about not talking to Kyle and Ashley. Her calls about it went on for months, even after I came back home. It bordered on emotional manipulation. She blamed me for not respecting her wishes, for her issues with friends, for her health problems, and then she even accused me of keeping her grandkids from her. Last June I gave birth to my daughter, and it seemed to push her over the edge. I'm talking 100 calls a day, texts every 20 minutes about anything and everything, and updates about people I don't want to hear about. When she started bothering Dean, I couldn't take it anymore. I was scared to block her, so I talked to my dad. It was probably the first truly honest conversation we'd had in 17 years. I was emotionally drained, exhausted from caring for 3 kids, and just at my breaking point. I think I poured out all my feelings to him. I don't know what happened between them afterward. He doesn't talk about it much, but her calls slowly stopped. Something clearly went down because in August, my dad filed for divorce. Now I keep regular contact with my dad, though I don't think our relationship will ever be what it could have been. Mom's been a mess. In August, her calls got frantic, and I wasn't the only one getting them. I changed my number, and since February, she hasn't been able to reach me. One of my brothers told me she's been struggling with anxiety and depression, and has lost a lot of friends. I don't know if she's still in touch with Kyle's and Ashley's families. I'm done with her. I don't want her around my kids. The things she said about me, about my husband, who she barely knows after being absent for 15 years, it's absurd. Yes, it hurts that I don't really have a mom anymore, but trying to salvage any scraps of a relationship feels like a waste of energy and pure torment. As for Kyle and Ashley, I got a few calls from Kyle's mom. As I mentioned before, I blocked her, and no one else has reached out. I have no idea what they're up to or where they are. We haven't spoken. The only thing that happened was in August, when everything hit the fan. My brother-in-law, Kyle's brother, gave me a letter supposedly written by Ashley. I haven't opened it, and don't know if I want to. I feel like I've processed and moved past their betrayal, but part of me is curious about what she could possibly have to say after all these years. But opening it might stir up emotions, and I'm not sure I want to feel all that again. Right now, things are okay. I'm trying to focus on my family, and really hoping this is finally behind me. Thank you all again. If anything else happens, I'll try to post another update sooner. Update 10-2, 1 month later. I've gotten a lot of questions, and I can't answer them all right now. I plan to share more later, but for now, I'll address the most common ones. I still haven't read Ashley's letter. After the last update, I started therapy again, and Dean and I decided it's best to give the letter to my therapist. They'll decide when or if I'm ready to read it. I haven't talked to my mom since the last update. I got messages from her on Facebook, and for the first time, one from Ashley's mom too. I didn't even read them. I've since deleted my Facebook. Neither Kyle nor Ashley has tried to contact me through social media. The only thing I know is that Kyle asked my brother-in-law, his brother, for my address or number, but he refused. That's when Ashley gave him the letter. Now my brother-in-law isn't talking to his family. Kyle and Ashley split up according to my brother-in-law, but he doesn't know if they're officially divorced. Last week, my dad was in town. He doesn't know my address and has never been to my house. For the first time in almost 20 years, we had a real honest conversation. It was tough, and it took me a few days to recover, but it was necessary. I learned a lot about my mom. Many of you suggested there must be something in her past that made her act this way, and I got more details about what happened between the time they found out about Ashley's pregnancy and my return 2 years ago. It's a ton of information, and I'll need time to process it in therapy. It's a lot, so I'll likely write a separate update about it. Also, about my younger sister. She's not at fault for anything. I never blamed her for keeping the truth from me. She was a teenager and knew it was wrong, but was under immense pressure from our mom. After I left, her life became a nightmare. Mom was unbearable and blamed her for everything. Thank you again for your support and kind words. Please cherish your loved ones if they're truly there for you in good times and bad. Call your parents, siblings, or whoever matters, and tell them you love them. Moments like these remind us how often we take those people for granted. Thanks, and I hope you're all doing well. Author's comment. 2 months later, from my dad, I learned that, according to him, Kyle and Ashley weren't in a relationship before the betrayal. But that could be a lie. It seems Ashley had feelings for him, so it wasn't just a random drunken hookup. If I'd known that back then, it would have crushed me, but I already suspected as much, even without her ex saying anything. They weren't dating by the time that party happened, but I think he never liked Kyle anyway. To him, their close friendship was a red flag. I wasn't a partier, and neither was Ashley, really. I don't know why they went to that party that day. I'm not sure if they went together or separately, probably separately, since Ashley had other friends who loved parties. As for alcohol, I don't recall them ever being big drinkers. I never saw Ashley so drunk that she lost control or blacked out, so I never fully bought that excuse. But I wasn't there, and honestly, it doesn't matter if they were drunk or not. It's still betrayal. I got a few messages from Kyle back then. I never responded to his calls or texts after learning he was the father. I haven't spoken to either of them since. Sometimes I regret that. Maybe it would have been better for all of us if I'd just let them have it, and then cut contact. But I was in such a bad place back then, and I was often sick. Right now, I think my mom is grieving the loss of the tight family and friend connections we once had, along with some other relationships. She hasn't fully realized that none of her 5 kids talk to her or see her. None of her grandkids know her. As far as I know, none of us are in touch with her. For me, that would be devastating. I can't imagine the emotional state she's in. We all agree she needs psychological, maybe even psychiatric help. My dad and older brother tried to convince her, but you can't force someone who doesn't want to change. Well, that's where the story ends. Share your thoughts in the comments about everything you've heard. I think yes, of course, the mom's behavior is completely out of line, and the author is entirely justified in her choices. It's absolutely wrong for a mother to support her daughter's friend over her own child during such a crisis. Thanks for watching this video to the end. Check out our previous video, which you'll see right here, and take care.